It's a great honor and a privilege to introduce Mr. Manfred Avram Moshe Hildesheim. We're here in your beautiful apartment in Rishon LeZion. And Manfred, can I just ask, you were born in Germany?
Yes, but when I was 7-year-old, we immigrated to Denmark because my mother was from Denmark. And my grandfather in Copenhagen, he saw in 35 what happened in Germany, and he told my father and mother, take your Pekelach and come to us in Denmark. And he guaranteed for us. And so we in 35 we emigrated to Denmark, and in the 9th of April in the 40, the German occupied Denmark in 4 hours, and so the German they didn't do anything against the Jews.
I just want to ask, Manfred, were you born in Hamburg?
Yeah.
In what year?
In 27. In
1927.
Yes.
And your father, was he was German? He was born
Surely
in
Germany? I have here the whole Mishpuchologia here. They came from the town of Hildesheim in the period of when Jonathan Eiberschmidt was a rabbi in Hamburg. It is about more than 200 years ago, and nearly 300 years ago, when they came to Hamburg. And then my father, grandfather, they were living in Hamburg, and when we came to Denmark, in Denmark we lived together with the Germans doing anything about...
I just want to ask, before we go into in Denmark, growing up in Hamburg...
I have been in Hamburg sometimes.
Do you remember growing up in Hamburg?
Surely, I was invited in Hamburg about 20 years ago, no more, 25 years ago. The mayor of Hamburg invited all the ehemalige Hamburger, and we were a week in Hamburg on the Cheshbon.
On the account.
Of the count of the major, and so there was in Hamburg, and I remember all the things because the school was still today Talmud Torah Schule. It is still a building, and now it is again a Jewish school, and
you grew up in a religious family?
Surely. My grandfather was always. We always have been in the Orthodox Jews, and so we came to Denmark.
But before you came, I just want to ask, what is your first recollections of Hamburg? Mm-hmm. What do you remember as a child growing up in Hamburg?
I remember a lot of things. I remember all the things when I was a little boy. My grandfather took me to the synagogue, the big synagogue in Hamburg, and Simchas Teure. Everybody gave me chocolate because I was the oldest grandchild, you said, because I told you that the brother of my father was killed in the first war. Yes.
He fought for Germany.
Yeah, and I got his name, and so I was the only grandchild he had. So it was very fair of my grandfather was on the first row in the synagogue, near to the chair of the grand rabbi. So when we came in the synagogue, the first row. Why the first row? But my grandfather was the first Jew who bought the first place of the synagogue when it was built. You see, So when I remember the rabbi.
Who was the rabbi? Do you remember the name?
Sure, Dr. Spitzer, Shmuel Spitzer, and his grandchild is a rabbi in Mali Lubuna, where my brother is living. Both brothers living. So I remember him, and all what I had of him, I had a picture, and also I make a design of him, and I gave it to his grandchild in Mali Lubuna.
Wow.
When his name is Yair Shachor, but his his mother was a grandchild of Rav Spitzer, and I remember him. And he died in 34, and I remember him. Afterward came the Rabbi Yosef Karlebach, 2 years after this, and he was killed in Riga, you see.
And you remember Rabbi Karlebach?
Surely, I remember him also the Karlebach. I remember him as he was a rabbi in Altona. Altona is today Altona is in Hamburg, but at that time there was the synagogue in Altona and a Jewish community in Altona, and he was the rabbi there. And I remember him. It's also interesting. He was a big, he was a personality special, and he was a rabbi there, and I remember it was Shabbat, Chanukah, and he arranged a Jugendgottesdienst, a mincha special for the youth. It was in 33, I think. And I had a relative in Hamburg, he was a Yatom, and he took me I was 6-year-old, I think, and he told me, it was Shabbos afternoon, and he took me to Altona. It was 1 hour to go to there. And all the small children, they sat on the first row, and the rabbi was standing there, and he told to the whole family, and his motto was to send the Jews to Eretz Israel. He spoke Nachon, and he sang, and they make a bracha for all body. So I also got a bracha. It was a bracha I'm living today. But this was not the first time I get a bracha from him when I was only 4 days, because his wife, the Rabbanit, she also he was also he nalda gam bat boto cheder.
She was born in the same
room where my mother. Wow. And so my mother remembered that he came and make a bracha of all the wives. So I also get a bracha. So I was a 4-day-old, I think. So that was the relation with Karlebach. 2 years ago, I was in Hildesheim to make an evening to remember the Joseph Karlebach. Wow. He was the last rabbi in Germany, the last Orthodox rabbi in Germany, and he would not leave his kehillah, and so the Germans take him with the last transport to Riga. And there he murdered him.
In Rumbala, most probably in Rumbala, in Riga.
Yes, and there's
in the forest, there's Rumbala.
Yes, there he was killed, together with the last community from Hamburg.
And can I ask, Manfred, you went to the Cheder in Hamburg?
In Cheder was a big school, a Talmud Torah Schule, in the first class and also the half of the second class. Because I came to school in 34, and 35 we left to Denmark.
And can I ask, what type of work did your father do?
My father was a temp sailor. He was also my grandfather in Copenhagen. He was also a dealer of stamps.
Of stamps?
Yes.
Your father was a stamp dealer?
Yeah.
Wow.
Philatelist.
And that was his profession? That was his...
Yes. And also profession of my grandfather.
Oh, wow. Gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah, he was in Hamburg. He was a very known. He was selling. He was taking from the post letters and all things, and he washed it and make envelopes to the different shops of stamps.
And were you ever interested in collecting stamps?
I also had a big collection from Israel. The old German post, the Italian post, and the Turkish post. But I sold it because I was interested in as you know, it is costing, and I need to buy this. I need the money, and also one thing, my grandchildren, they're not interesting. But I have another collection which is much more interesting. I am a collector of Haggadot Shel Pesach.
Wow.
And here I have about 2,500 Haggadot.
Can I ask, Manfred, how did your parents meet? How did your parents meet? How did they decide to get married, your parents? Because your mother came from Denmark.
No, my father, my mother, they know one another in the Chatuna of their brother and sister. My eldest, the brother of my mother, he got married with the sister of my father. And on their Chasne, my father and my mother knows one another.
They met each other.
So he was we have grandparents together.
Wow.
You see, and but he was in Denmark. 10% of the Jews, the Germans, they kept, and they sent them to Theresienstadt.
Yeah.
And there my uncle, the brother of my mother, he died.
In Theresienstadt.
But his wife and the children, 4 children, they came back to Denmark in the last weeks from the war. You see, you don't know the history, the whole history you have here.
No, I know. Moshe, can I just ask you, when you left Hamburg,
Yes.
Were you had to leave family behind when you went to Denmark? Did your father's family, your grandparents, did you?
No, they became to the family of my wife. All was bad.
I know, but when you left Hamburg, was it difficult to leave?
You see, I was mourning.
Crying.
I cried, yes, because in Hamburg was very good. I didn't feel something anti-Semitic, not at all. I was playing with the Schutzim and.
Were you playing with the non-Jewish children
Yes,
as
surely.
well?
Nobody said me something.
And did you wear a head covering or?
I was, when I was a boy, in a basket.
A cap?
Yeah, a cap. All the children at that time, in winter they make a...
And you never felt any anti-Semitism?
Not at all. Only my mother told me when I was a little boy, I was playing in the stable. Then once I came at home, and a guy has written Jude verrecke, but I don't remember it. But that's the only my mother told me, and And I played with him. Nobody told me anything. He wasn't playing, and you see, the school, Jewish school, is about 500 children. It was the best Jewish school in whole Germany. The Talmud Torah Oberrealschule. I have a picture of the school also, and we came to Denmark because I've been this summer. I've been in Denmark because of the bar mitzvah of a cousin, and so I saw the difference. In Hamburg was a big school, and I was, in Hamburg was about 20,000 Jews. In Denmark was about 5,600, not more. In the school in Hamburg, the school, a big school, and in Copenhagen, the Jewish school was so. And also, I have no relation with I have a big family, and so I don't have relation with the boys that was in the school. I had 2 or 3 comrades, that's all. Comrades, with the mother of them had been the friends of my mother when they was children.
And did you know any Danish when you went to Denmark?
I know in German we speak only German. My mother, she learned German, and when I came to Denmark the first time, my mother said, we have only to speak Danish, because the Danish are not loving the German. So I learned in 3 months I spoke Danish. And I have nearly forgotten the German, if not the grandfather of my father. They came the last moment in 39, some months before the war. They came to Denmark, and so my grandpa, he was 70. He said, "Hier wird nur Deutsch gesprochen." He only know German, but the grandmother, she tried to learn Danish. Her mother, they came from Altona. From Altona it was Danish until Bismarck. He made in '64 a big war against Denmark.
1864.
And so they took a third of Denmark to him. So Altona was German, and so her father was he was very stolz that he's a Danish citizen, but he couldn't, and he spoke German, but they was Danish until Bismarck came and took Altona to Germany. But there was a very Khrushchev family in Altona. So they one of the only old families in Altona. But so my grandmother, she arranged in Danish.
And when was your sister born?
Wasn't in Hamburg.
So your sister...
But she was 4 years when we left Hamburg. She couldn't remember something. But I remember the school, and I can tell you, when I was about 6 years, I read only. I was 5 years at home. My father learned me German and also Hebrew letters. So I was 6 years old. I think I could read. And the way from the school to home, it was about half an hour. On the way, there was the Stürmer. You know what the Stürmer?
It was the newspaper.
Yes. In every corner in Hamburg, there was the Stürmer. And then I also saw a lot of people. I also saw there, and what happened. And when my mother, of one of my comrades, she saw that I was there. He phoned to my mother, how you can make that your son is reading this? My mother said, I don't know what it was. Also, afterwards he told me they're not good signs. But nobody knows I'm Jew. In Hamburg, every time I have never seen something special that can be anti-Semitic. Afterwards, when we left Hamburg, the day before we left Hamburg, in all the parks there was written "Juden verboten."
There was after.
Yeah, but it was a day before when we went to the Copenhagen.
And that's when all the anti-Jewish...
In the first October 35, we left Hamburg the 2nd October. One day before the whole Juden verboten. But I don't remember it. I remember we got away and I was crying that we had to left Hamburg.
You remember saying goodbye to your friends and your family?
No, but I only remember that we were playing. I know where we were living in Hamburg there was also other Jewish families, but we have no connection. Everybody for himself.
And your parents, did they experience any anti-Semitism? Your father?
My father, yes, surely. But not so special that he, because a lot of Jews in Hamburg, they said, this is nothing, you see, it will go over.
No, lama. Asur.
Okay.
Asur.
No. Wow, thank you very much.
The curry is good. Thank you. Please very much.
Wow, Manfred, that's amazing. But your father, did he still have his clients? That he could sell his stamps?
Yes.
He still had his clients?
Yes, there was no anti-Semitism. Between our colleagues, nobody was anti-Semite. Not at all. Not at all. In Hamburg it was the red town of Germany.
Okay, sure.
They had to be Nazism, but I don't remember. One day I see in the 1st May the communists on one side and the Nazism for the other side, and they make a rage gadol. And
a big noise?
And a big noise. And I asked my father, what is it? He said, that's not for you. I by of 6 years, I know what is communism, what is Nazism.
And do you remember seeing the Nazi flag?
Yes, I remember, but it was, for me, when I have nobody told me something against me, what can I, but all the Schutzim and the cameras on the street, nobody said anything to me. So I cannot say, I remember something anti-Semitic. Not at all.
Not at all?
Not at all. I remember I was at the synagogue and the school, the Jewish school.
Sure, that's amazing. And when you came to Denmark, did you stay with your family in Denmark?
Surely. And in school, in the class in Hamburg, we have had more. I can show you that I have the big picture of the school and the comrades. But in Copenhagen, in the class there was about 20, and in Hamburg there was about 35, maybe more. But in Copenhagen I had only two or three comrades, which mothers was a comrade of my mother.
And were you in a Jewish school in Copenhagen?
Surely, in a Jewish school, yes, surely. But the Jewish school, it was nothing like in Germany, because in the Jewish school only two teachers were Jews, and the rest was not Jews. And in Hamburg, everybody was a Jew. You see.
So here we have a picture of your parents.
Yes.
That's amazing.
I have the picture of my grandfather and the grandmother, and also the elder one. I also had a figure. I can show you. I have pictures. The only picture of my grandfather, grand-grandfather, but it was at the beginning of the photograph at all. the beginning of the photograph is about in 1850, I think. It was also the Jews. They learned it very quickly. In Hamburg, there were four photograph Jews for photographs. The best one of the in whole Hamburg was the Jews.
They were photographers.
Yes, I have a big book. Somebody write about the 4 Jewish photographs in Hamburg.
Okay. Manfred, here you have photographs of the matzebot, of the tombstones of your family in Hamburg.
Yes, but I will tell you that it is not sure that it is all my family. There was a cemetery, old cemetery, and the German told to take it off, and all the matzebes from the family of Hildesheim, because I was there and I saw the whole Shura,
the whole row,
right? All Hildesheim, what there was in the municipality of Hamburg, a Goy Herz. He was of a Jewish family, and he, in the amount of the municipality, he took all the bones of all the Hildesheim and put it in one row. And this is the ground of the Jewish community in Hamburg, and he was not yashar, not right of the ground of my family. You see, the Yeshaya Hildesheim from the town of Hildesheim, but 100 years after this, there was another also come from Hildesheim, and he was the grounder of my family, but he was the grounder of the family of my mother. Not right, but so like this. This is him, Yeshaya Hildesheim, and then all the matzebes, and he was during the war. It was about in 41, I think. He took most of the bones to the big cemetery in Hamburg, in Ohlsdorf. So I saw the whole Hildesheim. This is good. But I have more. זה פה יש לי. פה יש לי בדיוק. אני שמתי את זה פה. This is my grandfather, Hildesheim. קראו לו אברהם מוישה Hildesheim. This is his second wife, and there was 3 children, I think, boy David, and this is Mina, and my grandfather was not born. This is the oldest, and this is about 1860. You know, the only this is a matzeva of him, but today matzeva is this. But I wrote what is written on the matzeva. The man was written on the matzeva.
Could you read it?
Surely that I could, but when I was the second time there, it was called although it was here, and the Rabbanit, and his wife is here. This is the grandmother. She was about 30 years, and here was 80 years.
Wow. That's the same lady in the picture.
Huh?
That's the same lady, that's the grandmother, many years later.
The grandmother of my father.
How did the picture survive? This is such an old. This is an original.
Surely.
It's an original picture. I'm just
At
going to
that
put
time, a picture was a picture. Today a picture is not a picture.
How did it survive?
I have also some old pictures of...
Moshe, Manfred, can you read what's written on the Mateva?
At that time, when I was the first time there, I was there in Hamburg after the war in 40... when I was in Hamburg the first time, about 49, I think, 49. After the war, 49 was on the way to Switzerland, was there, and this must say, all right, I could read it. But when it was the second time, it was like this. Here, so you see.
It's the same picture.
The same picture again, here. Here, this and this. Nobody but at that time, when it was first time I could read, was there. This I put in here. So it was here. This is the ketubah. The ketubah of my grandfather. But I have, the original I have another place. It is a picture. It's a photograph.
This is the ketubah,
yeah, of my grandfather, of him, of my grandfather. I will show you. Here. The balagan. It is a balagan here. You see. It's not chronological. It is a photo big. The original is not. It's only like this on parchment.
On parchment.
Here. Balagan. I haven't.
No, but this is
it's in Sweden. In Sweden, for the old people, they make a special hotel in Hildesheim. For the old Jewish people, it came from Denmark. And my grandmother, she is here. This is my grandmother. But I have a picture. You will see. I will show you. I have it. This is the Mateva of my grandparents in Copenhagen. Copenhagen. The Matzeva of the soldier, which my father's brother, it's the Matzeva of him. Okay.
And when he was in the First World War?
Yeah, he fall in the text.
There's a text from there.
And his sister was 4 years old. He also died of diphtheritis in the same year. And a family of mine, he went to Hamburg some years ago, and he made the photo for me. The text in the school, the Jewish school, all the soldiers who fell in the First World War, and here, the names of him, he is here. Moses Hildesheim. You see, all the soldiers of Hamburg which fell down, which was killed.
And they fought for Germany in the First World War?
Yes. And you see how much?
Oh, there were many.
All this.
They gave their lives.
All this, about some hundreds.
Sure.
And he was studying at the Rabbinai seminar of the Rabbanim in Berlin.
Wow.
You know, he was a machshava to be a rabbi. Yes.
He wanted to be a rabbi.
Yeah, and the whole class all failed because the K'tzinim, they were anti-Semitic, sent the Jews on the first row. And you see, his machshava was to be a rabbi. And now, Baruch Hashem, I have 2 sons which are rabbanim, and also a son in law, also a rabbi. Baruch Hashem.
Baruch Hashem.
He guesses here that is here. He was who fell in the first world.
This is a picture of
the soldier who fell down. Yes.
What is so sad.
He was 20 years old. In Verdun.
And Moshe, who's in the picture on the over here? Who in this picture?
And this is a little girl. He was 4 years old, or in the same year I think he died with diphtheritis.
And it was this a sister?
Sister, yes. So they were my father. There were 5 brother and a sister. She married the brother of my mother, and there was a little girl and my father. There were 5. And there was an uncle who is not married. זה משפוך. זהו בדיוק ככה. This is my father, his sister, who she married the brother of my mother, and the youngest boy, he was not married.
Moshe, Manfred, if I can have a closer... And who's in the picture over here?
No, this brother of that is my father, that's the sister. Here you have it more.
Oh, here it's the same.
And he was not married.
And then here's and at the bottom?
Huh? Here, that's my father, and the sister, and my grandmother. With a little girl who died. And there's the big brother who fell in the boat. Before the World War, I think. After the World War.
And I just want to show closer. This is...
And the matzeva of him.
This was... You can see a real photo from Hamburg.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
this
but
is...
It's not actually...
Oh, it's from...
This is the matzeva of him. רגע אחד, צריך להיות תמונה יפה מסבא וסבתא. זה בלגן פשוט, אני באמצע, אני רוצה להעביר זה... אני רוצה להעביר זה למשהו יותר חשוב. בינתיים זה ככה. I have no time. I always say tomorrow, 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 and tomorrow is not tomorrow. איפה שמתי זה? פה יש סבא וסבתא יותר בא. זה יותר אקטואלי. What a way. This is in Sweden. And the Sweden is a hotel where they lived, and did a grandmother and I in Sweden. And this is, we came back from Sweden, and this was it was in 1948. This is grandpa, grandmother, and I am This is a brother of my father. This is my father, my mother. And Judith, she's living in Bnei Barak. He was in Theresienstadt. She is now 95. And this is my grandmother when he was a week before he died. He was 82 that she was playing the piano. In the kindergarten in Copenhagen. They took her. Here. You.
This is your...
I am my grandmother.
That's you and your grandmother?
In Sweden. I was about 16 years old, the grandmother. Hildesheim. It was a place where the Jewish played team. It was
refugee
in Sweden.
I'm going to keep this.
44 to 45.
I'm just going to keep this on the side. We'll put it back. I'll keep it on the side. It's amazing. And is there any more pictures? This is so priceless. If we can see some more pictures. Manfred, this is unbelievable. While you're doing that, I'm going to just show this. He showed me as well. This is Hamburg.
Yeah, the Jewish market in Hamburg. About
1888.
88 years.
So this I just want to keep on the side.
Sure.
Manfred, this is incredible.
It's
priceless.
And this is in Copenhagen. Oh, you see, that is the place in Hildesheim in Sweden where the old people were. This is the house in Hamburg where they were living.
That's your house in Hamburg?
Yeah, no, father and mother was living. My grandparents was living Bornstraße 22. It was here. And they had a garden with a Zucker. And this is when they left there, they came to the elderly people house. It is still in Hamburg. And this is where they came in Denmark. They had an apartment here. This is the court of the synagogue. And after they were living here in here you have them. This is grandfather and grandmother when they were engaged. And this is her father. Who was a citizen of Altona when it was Denmark.
And these are all the originals.
Yeah, he was from Altona.
You can see. Did he have smicha? Was he a rav? Was he a rabbi?
No, he was not a rabbi.
Just from here.
No, he was a gabbai in the Chava Kadisha. And he was a very
very important.
Important that he was a Danish citizen before Bismarck.
It's amazing. You can see from Hamburg, from the embossed on the photo at the bottom, from the
in the Altona. It's going to be yesterday. So, yeah. Sabbath from my father's side, and this is the parents of my mother's side. Here's the parents. See, the parents of my mother's side.
This is the parents of your... Do you know what year the picture was taken?
Huh?
Do you know when it was taken?
About in 31, 32 maybe, on the boat from Copenhagen to Malmö. Yeah, there was. And she was born in Sweden. He was born in Sweden, and her parents, they came from Lita.
Do you know where in Lita? Do you know where in Lita?
I have here the documents from Lita also. That is the... Yes. It's a picture of... Here. That is my mother. That is my mother. The picture, you see, the older picture. This must be in 1910.
And is this in Denmark, this
Yeah,
picture?
it's in Denmark, yes. You see the old, but they're good. You know how it is clear today? Nothing clear.
And they were very religious. You can see from the picture, very Orthodox.
Surely. My grandfather was, he had a shul at home.
Okay, you can see.
He couldn't go somewhere. He had 3 Sefer Torahs.
In his home?
Yes. In every Shabbat we had a minyan.
And Manfred, who's in the picture?
No, there's a grandfather and grandmother
Oh, grandfather and grandmother.
on the mother's side. Well, this is a good picture. This here. Balagan, you know. He was living. Yeah, grandfather, the grandfather of my mother. The grandfather of my mother. Did it about 1900. See, also very good photos.
So this was also in Denmark?
Also in Denmark, yes.
And this picture next to?
That he then one of he had 13 children. So I don't know who was it. One of the daughters, I think. So.
This is incredible.
You know, it is not in order, the balagan.
But it's still unbelievable. Manfred, it's incredible.
Here you have the family of my mother's side. He was in Sweden, yes. The parents came from Lita. This is her. Yeah, this is her grandfather from the mother's side. They came from Lita. Yeah. And he was a daughter of a rabbi.
Here you can see who the photographer, wow. And Mayer, it's
No, the photo was made in Copenhagen.
in Copenhagen. But also very,
And
the quality is incredible. It's
yeah, and he was not a rabbi, but he was living in Göteborg, in Gothenburg, and he was one of the grounders of the Orthodox synagogue in Göteborg. And he wrote in Yiddish, the grandmother, Yiddish. She did not speak, not Danish and not Swedish. Okay, the Matseva. I was during the war. I was in Sweden, in Göteborg, the Danish school for the Danish immigrants. This is the Matseva of him. He died in Sweden. Sweden. Here the the founder of the family of my mother. The founder of the family of my mother, 300 years ago, he and he. They came originally from Germany, but the station before they came to Copenhagen, it was in Amsterdam. They were German Jews.
and Moshe, is this a
Okay, as you see, he died in 70 and 31. About 300 years ago. I make the sign because the original of the pictures is in London. And this was my mother said it was the grandfather of my mother. This photo may be from 1855 maybe, of the first photographs that existed. Saba, he has a private synagogue at home, and the three Sefer Torahs, one of my uncle, he sold it, and the other one is still in Bnei Barak, but it is Pasul, and the third one, it was stolen in Switzerland. So, but this is the mantle of one of them. This is now in Hechel Shlomo.
in Hechel Shlomo in Yerushalayim?
Okay, I gave them it because what I can do with them. This two of them. This And there's the one in Bnei Barak. עכשיו זה old cemetery in Copenhagen. Where they are, the old cemetery in Copenhagen, with the graves of them.
And it still exists today?
Yes, the whole today. And this is a photo of my king. This is my mother with all the children together. They were 11.
Your mother's in the middle?
11, and that's my mother.
It's a beautiful photo.
It was, I think the photo, it was 25 years, no, the silver marriage of the parents.
Of the parents.
It must be in 1916.
1916?
Yes.
And on the other side?
This is my mother, and my grandfather is my mother. There's a sister of my mother too. So when my mother was engaged. This is the grandbrother of my mother who killed in Theresienstadt. His wife, and this is the Matseva of his wife in Copenhagen. So, my father, my mother. The marriage.
That is wonderful.
Yes. The marriage of my parents. No.
And were they married in Hamburg?
They were married in Copenhagen.
Oh, they went to Copenhagen for the chasana, for the... This is in Copenhagen.
This is father, mother, I, my sister.
This is such a beautiful picture. And in what year?
Huh?
What year is this?
What year it is? It is, I think, it must be I think when we came home from Sweden, 45, I think. Maybe 45. When he came back from Sweden, so I think. You know, when at that time nobody are writing something.
Yeah, it's so true.
Today I must write.
Yeah.
But at that time, you know, I know what it is.
It's true, it's true.
So זה אותו דבר עוד הפעם. There in Copenhagen, when my father was alone in the Jewish elders' home in Copenhagen, they're not interesting. But the house in Copenhagen where they're living, it's not interesting. The houses living is not they ultimately private. That's all. The last photos. My father goes. Ik כבר לא מעניין. ik כבר ההורים שלי. מה זה פה? They're not special. You saw the most interesting thing of the family.
So Manfred, you have over here a family tree. You have two family trees.
Yeah, here too.
If you could show it, because this is something very, very, very unique.
Yeah.
It's all very unique and all very special.
You know, I have not time to order this.
I'll put over here.
More or less. When I have much time, I will make it.
Can we see the family tree?
Yes. You will see the family tree of my father's family. Mispakat Hildesheim. So, this is the beginning. This man, he came from Hildesheim. Moshe. He came from Hildesheim about 1760, and I have a document where Jonathan Eiberschitz, he is signing it, that to Edim, telling
two witnesses.
Yes, that this man came from Hildesheim. And Eiberschitz here hiding. The original is in Hamburg, in the archive of Hamburg, but I have the photo of it. And from there I make all this.
You made this family tree?
I make it.
Wow.
You see, this is the beginning, not here, Moshe, and then Shlomo, he was, Chaim was there, and then going straight on, Moshe, David, Menucha. Moshe, Yetzre, the grandfather, Avraham Moshe, Yetzre, you saw the picture. And this is a grandfather, Yitzhak, Carolina, and then going here, my father and my mother, and this is I and my wife, and here's the sister, and his family. And then the children and the grandchildren until here, before they were married.
And now we have to read many more papers, please, Carl.
But I have a classeur. I have writing everybody who is born and so I have a lot to do. You see, I have Baruch Hashem, I have a lot of grandchildren.
Baruch Hashem.
So I have a lot to do.
And Manfred, you have another family tree?
Yeah, that's on my mother's side. On the mother's side, the Mishpacha Ruben.
And you did this as well?
They came to Denmark exactly 300 years ago.
And this is Mishpacha Ruben?
Ruben, yes. They came from Germany, but they came transit Amsterdam. So there's a beginning here, and פה I can tell you מהלווין נורדו. Okay, but here is beginning Yeshaya has Hildesheim, but of the ground of the community in Hamburg, And here, דרך זו, ככה וככה וככה, מגיע את המשפחה.
It's amazing, sure.
Also the, okay, the Jacob, you to my children here, so that's all.
And Manfred, you showed me, this is a book, the Talmud Torah School in Hamburg,
Yeah.
1805 to 1942, and on the cover is a picture of you.
Yeah.
And there we have the school, and we have the synagogue before it was burnt, and it was burnt in Kristallnacht.
Yeah, yes.
And we have a bigger picture of the school. The school and the shul in the background. It's amazing. This is the picture when. Can I ask, in this picture, how old were you in this picture? This.
And the first day, the school day.
This is the first school day.
Yes.
It was a German custom. You were given a.
Huh?
You holding.
No, but the Schultüte. This is some special in Germany. Every boy in the first day, he gets a thing with chocolate and calmar and all the things.
And the girls get it as well?
Yes, when I got 4, because my grandmother came and said, the first day of school, it is a chagiga, no?
It's a celebration.
Celebration, yes.
And this was in
34, yes.
1934. Manfred, you can see in the book, it says your name, Manfred Hildesheim, Talmud Torah in 1934. And you remember your first day of school?
Surely, die ganze Mischbuche.
It was a big celebration.
Yes.
Oh, this is something different. This is the invitation. And we're just going to have... And Manfred, you were showing me that you have here, originally from, on your wall, Manfred, you have... is this the...
This is the brother of my grandmother. She made it to her husband.
Your grandmother?
Yes, Caroline.
And this is the original, the...
Surely it must be about 1890,
1892.
I think so. 93.
And she embroidered the 2 lions on each side. But the
call, he made it before the Chatuna.
Zachor et Yom HaShabbat LaKodsho.
Okay, it was for the Chalet. It was a Chalet taken.
Manfred, I just want to thank you so much. I cannot believe the treasures that you have. Manfred, I'm so grateful to you. I want to thank you very, very much, Manfred. This has been incredible to hear the story of your family's history in Hamburg.
Yeah.
The Jewish family history of Hamburg is your history.
It was.
The history of your family is so connected to the Jewish history of Hamburg.
Surely.
Wow.
Surely.
To have the original photographs, and this book of the Talmud Torah with you inside, it's amazing. So, Manfred, I'm so grateful to you, and I want to thank you. And you should just be in Mazel and Brocha and Meve Stream, but Bemet Toda Rabba Rabba. And here we have the
Joseph Carver Schule in Hamburg.
And it's still going.
Yes, it is now, because the Talmud Torah should know they get the name of the Rabbi, Yosef Karlebach, who was a
And you remember him? You remember?
Sure, Mati. I remember it when he was a rabbi in Altona, when I was a 6-year-old. As told you, I was sitting in the first row, yes, and he was speaking there. So and I remember him.
Well, thank you so much.
Yes.